Hey guys, what is up? Welcome to the 8th episode of Cinemafia. I am your host, Lewis. To my left,
I'm Andrew.
And I'm on Andrew's left, and I'm Asher.
Guys, I think we should stop saying I'm on the left or, I'm on the right or
Yeah,
I'm
I-
doing
yeah.
a 360.
In this country, it's so
no-scope.
politically divided. We need to stop doing that.
Yeah.
It's just too controversial. That's
I'm
what you
just
mean, right?
Asher.
Yeah.
And I'm at this table.
Yep, I'm Andrew. I'm in this room.
And I'm Lewis. I'm at the far end of the table. And I'm gonna.
Whoa.
We're
That's
still
too specific.
still giving
That's pretty
positions.
far in one
I'm going to pass
direction.
it over to Asher now. He's going to tell us what movie we just saw and give us some brief details on it.
Sweet.
Go ahead.
We just recently walked out of the cinema having seen Captain Marvel, 2019 Marvel Studios film. I'll just read
Very
you this.
original naming.
Yeah.
Thank you. I figured that out, and I was like, oh, pat myself on the back.
I
Captain-
was complimenting
Hey, what?
Marvel Film Studios.
I was complimenting myself, and this is a dialogue that we could probably do later.
Okay.
Captain, my screen's timed out, so I have to
Fucking
unlock
hell.
that. Here we
Jesus,
go.
Andrew, you distracted the poor man.
What have I done? Is this my
Captain-
fault?
Fuck.
This is the worst start of an episode we've had. God damn it.
Captain Marvel is an extraterrestrial Kree warrior who finds herself caught in the middle of an intergalactic battle between her people and the Skrulls. Living on Earth in 1995, she keeps having recurring memories of another life as U.S. Air Force pilot Carol Danvers. With help from Nick Fury, Captain Marvel tries to uncover the secrets of her past while harnessing her special superpowers to end the war with the evil Skrulls.
That was good. That was nice. I really
Thank you.
liked
Oh,
it.
directed by Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck.
Two
there you go.
people.
I was very tempted to ruin your little presentation there, like I've already ruined this podcast.
Yeah. You're very good at that.
Jeez.
Look,
Yep.
Andrew, if I can now pass over to you, you're going to explain the Mafia game.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Maybe I can redeem myself by explaining the game of Cinemafia, the game show where one of us is lying about our film review. That's right. That's right. We've all just watched the film, and now we're all going to tell you about it and what we thought about it, except one of us is lying. One of us has been predetermined by a Yu-Gi-Oh card, which signifies that they are Mafia, and they are going to lie about their opinion about the film.
And today's card was the Blue Eyes White Dragon, a fan favorite. So whoever has that card,
What?
they... What?
What?
What? What the fuck are you doing?
okay,
Why
so-
are you continuing to fuck this up?
I thought it was another card. I thought it was the trap card that we had talked about that. Yeah. Well, this is fine.
Does this change anything?
No, it doesn't. We can just have a little
It
thing,
basically
right?
doesn't.
No, because Andrew and I were talking and
Yeah.
figured that the Blue Eyes was not it necessarily, but that the trap card, which was... you
Well,
know,
I was
trap-
not aware of this.
I realized...
We have to restart.
Oh,
Fucking hell. Okay, guys, we are now back. We got over that little issue.
That was pretty awkward, wasn't
yeah,
it?
Yeah, that was really awkward.
Technical error.
Yeah, that could've-
don't worry, we haven't colluded. We've redone it so that one of us is the random Mafia. Trust us, we don't know who it is.
Yep.
It's not me.
Oh, it's not me.
It's not me.
It isn't,
That's
though.
our catchphrase.
Because I didn't pull the trap card,
Yes,
which
that's
is
right.
the
Yes,
Mafia
it is the
card.
trap card.
hole, and one of us has received trap hole, which indicates that they are the Mafia.
Yeah.
And
It's
whoever ended up getting
not
the
me.
Blue Eyes White Dragon, which wasn't me,
And,
I have to say that'd be pretty cool because then you're not the Mafia and you just have a cool villager card. You know, that's
A
just a
pretty cool
awesome
villager
thing.
card as
Yeah.
opposed to the other.
Yeah, the other one, which is
lame.
rather lame. Andrew said he was very close to giving his actual opinion on the movie in the
Yes.
previous round, so it's a good thing he didn't do that, or else this
Yeah.
entire day would have
No,
been fucking
but
ruined.
I'm still giving my actual opinion.
Oh,
I
because
am
you're not
also
Mafia.
giving my
Because I'm not
opinion.
Mafia, so I'm giving my true opinion.
Well, if Andrew's not Mafia and I'm not Mafia, Asher...
One
like-
day we're going to make this joke one too many times.
Well, yeah.
and
No, no,
everyone's going to unsubscribe.
We don't have enough listeners for this to ever get overplayed. So, okay. So where'd we get up to? Andrew had explained the Mafia
Yep,
game.
I explained the game.
We
and
were
I
about
did
to
that.
reveal it, I believe.
Yep, we
Or
were.
You,
So
you
let's-
said the one who draws... Oh, no, you just explained the game, and you said the one who draws the Blue Eyes White
Oh
Dragon
yes,
card.
I did technically
we were
cut
like,
you off.
oh.
So do you just want to run through the rules
All right.
once again? Because I
That's
didn't
so
cut you
Sure,
off.
I'll do it real quick
Quick.
Shit. All right, here we go. Mafia and cinema review. One of us has been Mafia, randomly assigned. They are lying about their true opinion. It's the goal of the other two to find out who that is and hopefully vote them off by the end of the episode. And if you want to listen to this episode knowing who the Mafia is, then you can go to www.com, tiny URL, shit. www.tinyurl.
Oh, my God. Okay, www.tinyurl.
I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm going to do it.
Cinemafia
I'm doing
spoilers.
it. Go to tinyurl.com Cinemafia spoilers.
Hell yeah!
Now let's get back to the episode. And now we have all written down our ratings corresponding with whether we are Villager or Mafia. So, guys, let's go ahead and give our ratings for 2019's Captain Marvel.
Sure.
I will go first. My rating is a 4 out of 10.
I will go second. 2.5 out of 10.
Oof.
I just upgraded mine to a 7. I used to think it was a 6.5, and I was going to do it
That's
as
a bit
7.
suspicious that you
Yeah.
just
No, I was
changed your rating
literally-
right after Lewis and
I was like struggling to, because this pen was running out, and I'm like, I realized he was about to say it, and I'm like, fuck, get it down.
I think that almost ruins the sanctity of the game.
No.
I'm going to ask you, Asher, do you think this moment would ruin the spirit of the game? Do you think
No.
this... Okay, you don't
Because
think...
I really didn't take anything into account. Literally, as I'm writing
Okay.
it, I'm going, fuck. They
Even-
rated it really low.
Okay,
I
so
should
you,
not have
So you gave
bothered
it a
to
6
change
out
it.
of 10. You're switching it to a 7.
So I gave it a 6.5, but it's a 7.
So it's coincidence that you rated it after we had given our ratings.
Yeah.
He would have to
Absolutely.
swear by it either way.
Yeah.
Why would I want to do that? It's already...
Because you
know.
realize that we've already gone through so many issues
Also,
setting
but
this up.
Why
and
would
you
I raise it from 6.5 to 7 if you guys were like lower and if I wanted to blend
Is
in?
this like some extreme obfuscation? No,
Boys.
this is beyond the game. I'm gonna take Asher in honesty.
Yeah.
What's the term? In good faith.
Yeah.
Yes,
When
I'm
he
acting in
says
good
that he was
Yeah.
racing, he was struggling to race it, and he didn't use our opinions.
I
to
do
base
feel like
his opinion.
if Asher would have the decency to, and the wherewithal to realize if this did in fact ruin the game, and the fact that he hasn't suggested that himself is either brilliant strategy where he still gets to play it off.
Yeah.
Keep
And
covering
I
your
tried
card.
to write down with this pen, and this pen I figured out while I was trying to write it down doesn't work. Oh, now it works.
Now it works.
It's
But
working.
this one definitely works because it's the one I used.
The problem is
fuck.
does it indicate one way or the other if he's more likely to be a mafia or a villager, literally on a statistical point of view?
Well, the
I
issue-
don't think so.
The issue is we can't possibly go back and do the ratings because then we can figure out who's changed. So
Thanks for listening to Cinemafia.
we have to stick with
We've
this.
died.
Yeah,
officially.
we have to stick with this. So
Lewis, you rated it a 4,
yep, I gave this a 4 out of 10.
and
Yeah,
you, Andrew,
a 2.5.
and I burped into the microphone, and I just gave it a 7.
Okay.
Fucking
really
hell.
wild ratings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who wants to jump in first and give their quick little opinions? I think Asher should go. Since he's the one that's been fucking everything up thus far.
Sure.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So I thought that was a really enjoyable film. There were like neat characters, and overall, what I criticize about the film are like the CGI at some parts was pretty shocking, to be honest. The cat, the great intelligence area, and how it was intertwining with Carol. And what else was it? Yeah, like the gravity in space, flicking it on just because it makes it simpler to film, I guess. But like that guy modified that ship in a few hours with Earth materials. There's no way
to
he's-
have anti-gravity
I
capabilities.
know, right? So this takes it down from like a higher rating.
Simulated.
I think story-wise, it was engaging, really cool origin for this character because I'm not familiar with the comics, but it's a neat superpower. It makes sense to me, you know. Sure, she's absorbed this energy capability from the space stone, the Tesseract. Yeah, I bought it, hook, line, and sinker. I quite liked it, and the criticisms that some people have, you know, laid onto it of being like sort of shoveling down feminism,
preachy.
but preachy. I didn't really find that got in any way of in the way of the film in the storytelling. I thought it was actually fine. It made sense. The only thing that didn't make sense was the mother of the child in Louisiana sort of just being convinced to, okay, I'll go and go to space. I haven't really necessarily been trained for this. And
Yeah.
I have a young daughter, but I guess I'll go into space
Because
with
my
good
daughter
friend.
wants me to.
My
Yeah.
daughter wants me to.
I want to be a good female role model for my
Yeah.
daughter, so I better risk my fucking life for her.
That was a bit
That's
wild.
a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, I really enjoyed all the characters,
Okay.
how they ended, and how they were on screen.
I can build off of that. So I give this a 4 out of 10. This was a bad film. The reason I'm not going lower is because it had the bare minimum required to be a decent film. You know, some of the actors were fine. Nick Fury was probably the standout. Some of the moments of directing, there was nothing that really was obnoxious except for the bloody fighting scenes. I thought those were terrible. I did think some of the first half of the film. Well, I guess I'll say the first part of the film where Marvel is part of that team and they're going onto that planet. I thought that was really bad because I couldn't see anything. It's so dark and it's got like those really like dark reds and purples.
Very
and
dusty.
Yeah, especially with all those terrible camera angles where they're trying to it's like motion tracking every single shot. I can't tell what's happening. Then we have the phase where it's basically just 90s nostalgia bait, and that means nothing to me. I grew up in the 2000s, so saying, oh wow, it's blockbusters, oh it's Radio Shack. Like I know these are things that would appeal to people, being like, oh wow, I remember when I was young, but that had no effect on me. Other criticisms, I thought the character of Captain Marvel, she was really, really annoyingly arrogant. And I think that was more just an issue with Brie Larson, is that her name? Brie Larson? Lawson was the name of the her mentor in the movie.
Yonrog.
Lawson.
Oh, yeah, sorry. The
Fucking
other
idiot,
mentor.
yeah.
Larson.
Jeez. Sorry, I'm just angry at you. God, now I've forgotten my point. What was I saying? Oh, yes. She came off as they were trying to make this character way too badass. And, it's like she's got like a cheesy little quip for every time someone's like attacking her. It's like, just stay down or something like that. And then she's got like here's my one little zinger and I'm going to, fire back at you. And I also really, really, as opposed to you, Asher, I didn't like how they victimized her, where it's like every opportunity in her life, it's been like, oh, there are boys making fun of her when she's in the military. There's boys telling her, oh, you can't ride a go-kart, that sort of stuff. It just came off as very, very forced. Two issues I also had with Nick Fury and with Carol Danvers with her old friend from the Air Force. They were way too willing to accept this crazy world. Like Nick Fury, he's just found out, okay, he works for S.H.I.E.L.D., but he's supposedly like just found out about the existence of these crazy Skrull people, and in a few hours he's willing to be like all working for it. And it's even less believable with the other character, the Air Force friend. Do we have her name, by the way? I don't know her.
Maria?
Yeah. Okay. She was way too willing to believe this. She's just seen her friend that she thought has died from 6 years ago, and she's immediately conversing with her, not freaking out, not having total turmoil.
Yeah.
And
you're
then
right.
like a few hours later, she's going into space fighting these fucking aliens. I found that absurd. I have some other issues, but I'll get into those later. I'll pass it over to Andrew now.
Yeah, many of the reasons that Lewis has said as to why this film was bad are things that I would totally agree with. It's just that it appears to have affected me more. One thing that I can pick up on that he didn't say, in my opinion, the biggest oversight of this film was that it took place in under 22 hours.
The entire
Right.
film itself.
Yes.
Yeah, that was right.
It
It
did.
would take us 22 hours to get to Earth. That was what was the case.
It-
So it happened over 22 hours, but
It happened
not much more than
over
24.
22 hours, and that was simply unbelievable. Compiled upon everything that you said, these people are suddenly willing to believe aliens
Yeah.
and suddenly willing to see that my friend is here, and suddenly, all this sort of thing. In less than a day, all of these events have happened, and it's wild
And
to
no
think
one,
about.
no one drank any water on screen.
No one- yeah.
Or went
No
to
one
the
hydrated.
bathroom.
Yeah.
No one went to the bathroom.
Yeah.
They probably needed to. And that honestly dragged it down 5 points. No one went to the bathroom. No.
But no, you know
Otherwise,
what
it
I'm
was
saying?
7.
You know what I'm saying, right? If it's in such a short time, then you'd expect some more everyday life to occur in that period than there was. But it's a minor gripe.
I intensely disliked the parts where, like, just the lines she
Yep.
would say, and the cat wasn't funny.
Yeah, that was annoying.
Oh god, and the way he treated it was like supposed to be humorous. It was supposed to be a realistic interaction that some people have with their cats.
It's meant to be a
Lewis.
joke because he's this badass and
Yeah.
he's like, doing all this crazy stuff, but then, he's a sweetie at heart. He's so in love with this cat.
Yeah. And then the cat is actually a flurican.
Yeah, like
which
that
is
was
some-
obvious when the cat was following them around. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, it's either going to end up being a squirrel or
Yeah,
whatever it is.
I thought it was going to be a skull.
Yeah. I
That
think it's
it was
squirrel.
Squirrel.
Yeah.
Squirrel. I
Squirrel.
thought it was going to be a squirrel.
Yeah, squirrel.
That was, following them around, and it was using Nick Fury's love of cats to hide.
Yeah, exactly.
But it turns out it was just an alien. How did that alien get to Earth?
No clue.
A dangerous, benevolent, apparently, alien.
Somewhat
Yeah.
benevolent, because
Yeah.
it did scratch his eye out after it got a little frustrated.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a theory.
Okay.
That the reason Nick Fury has an eye patch is because of his injury in this film,
Wow.
and I don't think he's gonna heal.
Are you serious? Is that
That's a joke. It's
okay?
not.
All right. Thank
Oh,
good.
It's hard to tell with this guy because
Yeah.
he's so dumb sometimes.
That's
I
a
really
great
fucked-
theory.
I fucked
I
it
wonder
up.
if they'll show that in the future film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If he has like an eye patch or something, or a false eye, you know.
I fucked that up. I wish I hadn't started cracking up in the middle of it.
Hey guys, I want to know, what do you think about? I know it's superhero films and you have to sort of turn your brain off, but why exactly when that core or whatever was destroyed, when Danvers shot it, why instead of killing her did it imbue her with amazing
Yes.
powers? Why?
If only we could all be imbued with powers like
yeah,
this.
because the other guy,
He was a little bit further away.
he was also blown away by it. So like they didn't really, even if they gave some bullshit world explanation, it's like, oh, as long as you're close to the power, you absorb it as opposed to being a few meters away. There was no explanation for that. It just came across as really forced. There's like this big moment where, oh, you think she's going to kill herself because she's willing to blow up the core and risk her life, but really it's like the most amazing thing for her because she gets all these powers.
Well, all I can say is that energy derives from an infinity stone, and so you have to have a certain amount of appreciation for the fact that infinity stones in this universe can do what they want, and that is how
That's
it
great.
works.
Yeah, that's really
What is the
strong writing.
Tesseract control?
That was the space stone.
Yeah.
That was a thing for the lightning speed thing, wasn't it?
Faster
Tesseract?
than light travel. Yeah, I'm actually a little confused
it
as to why.
space?
Yeah, it's space.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
about teleport. Like Thanos uses the space stone in Infinity War to teleport, basically.
Right.
And other things you can do with. You can hold people in place. Apparently, you can absorb energy and
Yeah.
distribute energy.
The listeners will
Also.
notice that Asher is the one of us three who is most familiar with the Marvel films. I
I'm
believe he's
100%
seen all
up
of
to
them.
date. Last night I watched Ant-Man and the Wasp, and it was a worse film than this.
Okay. Yeah, Andrew and I we're less familiar, although it's difficult to not be familiar with the Marvel films to some extent because they're so heavily imbued
They're
in pop
pretty
culture.
pervasive,
Yeah.
and normies
Yeah.
love them.
Especially
so.
after the whole Avengers Civil War and Infinity
Yeah.
War stuff.
We're in the end game now.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd recommend Infinity War if anyone in terms of it'd take a bit of effort to get into if you haven't watched any of the films beforehand, but it was a very good film, much better than this. Pretty rewarding for someone who's watched the series up to now.
Another issue I had was how they sort of pulled the idea of the Skrull being, refugees who are actually the victims out of nowhere. Because
Yeah.
everything we've seen up till then is that what's the actual group that
Kree.
Captain Marvel? Yeah, the Kree. Also, isn't that based on an actual Native American tribe, the Kree?
CREE is a
Yeah,
Native
that's what I was
American
thinking.
Native American people.
Yeah. So I wonder if there's controversy there because well, let's not get into that with Native American. But that's why I was wondering why they chose that. But those people, they're shown to be sort of like like another sort of Avenger sort of special unit. All these people with different powers, and the mentor again. What's his name? Wong something.
Yogran.
Yogran. He and Captain Marvel, they're shown to be like they're
Yon-Rogg.
literally the most humanistic looking members of the team. Everyone else is like blue and with a deep voice. So it's like even though this is like a ragtag bunch of people who are probably criminals, these guys seem to be the most decent. And there are moments without that where Yon-Rogg,
sorry.
I'm never gonna get that right. This is gonna be worse than Gruishka. Where Yon-Rogg.
Hey, you remembered it.
Exactly. Where there's there were moments where Yon-Rogg, he'd sort of be like, like showing a bit of mercy. And the entire time we see the Skrull, they're always shown as being like, villains.
Goblins.
Like
it's
goblins.
the humanity versus the goblins.
Yeah.
It's very cast.
And like I understand the idea is like it makes sense if they've been attacked, thus far from the Kree and they're, I understand why they would want to be so violent back towards them. But it's just I would have liked to see more hints before we got to like the final third of the film. Then it's suddenly like, oh no, we're actually the good guys, because all those other moments that what was the guy's name, Taylor or something? The main
Talos?
guy, Talos.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
all those
No,
other
no,
moments.
That's not right.
It is Talos, I think.
It's something like that. It's very close.
I think it is Talos, the main guy who
No,
is.
that's
Skrull.
Ben Mendelsohn's character, Talos.
I don't know who Ben Mendelsohn is.
He was the general
Yeah.
who was impersonated.
Yes.
Oh,
Wait. Oh,
A
okay.
human general.
we're talking about the Skrull general. I think
Yeah.
his name was Talos or Taylor?
It wasn't Talos, but it began with T.
Okay. Well, either way, I've fucking forgotten my point. God damn it. No. My point was there were other moments where he had interacted with Captain Marvel and Nick Fury, where he was being like a total, sadistic asshole, being like, I don't care. I'm gonna, put you guys in harm's way. I'm gonna even kill you just so I can get what I want. And then this one moment, he's finally like, okay, I'm gonna open up to you. It just felt a bit
And
forced.
people let their guard down around him probably too easily.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's another thing where, Captain Marvel, she's been in this, like, she has no real memories of her past self. She comes across them, but she still has all that experience that she knows firsthand from her training, those 6 years that she's been on that planet. And, like, they constantly remind you of all this training she's gone through. And then, as Andrew was pointing out, less than a day. So this would have been over the course of, like, maybe 4 hours, 5 or 6 max, that she's totally gone through that and being like, the government organization I work for is, totally tyrannical. I'm going to help these people out. It just came across as forced.
Like, they mentioned that brainwashing was, like the Skrull have gotten to her because they've got some mental tricks, and that's the propaganda that is spread by the Kree so that, if any of their soldiers do realize the truth, they can gun them down with extreme prejudice. But it has to take longer than a day to change your mind, to discover the truth, to question everything that you've quote unquote ever known. It's however, she does know a little bit more. She just doesn't know that she knows.
There was also the issue with we only started seeing the Kree actually being evil after we're told they're evil. Like, we only hear about them committing these crimes against the Skrull. It's like we just hear the main guy, whatever his name is, say, oh, they've hunted my people and we don't want to use this weapon to attack them, we just want to use it to escape. It's all off screen, so there's no impact
I
of it.
know this is just me saying I can say whatever. I could even lie about this if I wanted to, but I'm not lying. Because I'm not Mafia. But I thought that the Kree were always going to be a little bit evil or a little bit off. Because in science fiction, when there's an AI, it's evil. When there's an AI leader, or you can bet that it is,
the
for the will of the people.
Well, another big clue, if you're familiar with at least Guardians of the Galaxy, is the character of Ronan the Accuser, who's the one with the big hammer. He's a Kree
I recognized
general.
him.
And so in this film, he appears to be part of at first the good side, but we know from Guardians of the Galaxy that this is a top evil bloke. And to criticize
evil,
and to criticize his portrayal in this film, his makeup was just below par. He looked like a member of the Blue Man Group with a Ronin head.
He did look a lot less menacing than he did.
He didn't have the
previous
detail.
films.
In Guardians of the Galaxy, they made a lot of effort to make him look really fucking sick.
I feel they also had certain angles where they actually showed him looking bigger than he was and like looking down on people. He came across as way more menacing back then.
He was huge in Guardians of the Galaxy, and he was just maybe.
And here he was in his like a little tiny little
just
7
video
feet.
chat.
Yeah, but he also his face was just a normal blue. It wasn't. I don't know what it was, but there was just so much to it.
There were more wrinkles and stuff. Like, he looked older, so that could be the thing. He was a younger Kree at this point. How many years have passed between Infinity War and this film? I mean, it's from 95
20.
So it's from 95 to 2015 or 16 or 17, right?
I have now done some research and found that I'm very wrong. Telos, that's his name. That is the guy.
I knew this. Andrew and I were certain of this.
So Ben Mendelsohn.
Mafia.
Yeah, literally, he's been lying this entire time.
Ben Mendelsohn, who played the general, also played that character.
Wow.
Which is interesting because he impersonated him, which is kind of odd.
Yeah, that is kind of weird.
Yeah.
If I had to think of some other things that I did like about this film,
let's think really quick, because I sort of want to. There has to have been some indication that they were going to be evil, or the Skrull were going to be good. That is like a classic literary device, where there is a little bit of a clue to show you that things aren't as they seem.
The main thing,
and I would trust in Marvel Studios to try and show that things weren't always the case. And I mentioned this with the AI leadership, but that's a trope. I was just going off trope.
Yeah.
Was there anything that we can think about that may have indicated that the Skrull were going to be the victims?
Well,
anything?
you could look into it in a quite a deep way when her flashback, her initial flashback, that dream to being on that field post crash, and the Skrull coming through and raising the gun right through the dust, raising the gun and firing it, and her blood at that point is blue, because this is a memory of her, as a Kree warrior, hero warrior.
Kree.
Sorry, Kree.
Yeah.
And and then of course then we see that scene play out in a later flashback which is more updated, and that person was Jon Rog.
Yep.
And so but that moment when he in the original flashback is behind the mist, right? That could be a metaphor, right, for the fact that you don't actually know who your enemy is, and then it does come out of the fog who it is, but that is not clear. But that
right.
you could
I see.
read into
I wouldn't
that.
say they didn't have any attempts to show that the Kree weren't bad, because to me they'll play it off as, the majority of them apart from Marvel and Jon Rog, they'll play it off as anti-heroes. They're all sort of aggressive, they all look weird, deep voices, blue, but we see Jon Rog, when he's leading them, he seems a bit more jovial in his interactions with Marvel, who we know as the hero. And then when they're on that planet and they're walking through, Jon Rog specifically says, leave these guys alone, they're just locals. So that's showing him having some regard for people who are innocent. So that's why the entire time he's built up as this person who is helping Marvel. And so I connected him with being, a supposedly good figure. Like when she's crashed on this planet, he seems genuinely worried about her. And I had no reason to think that he's lying when he says, this Skrull are trying to brainwash you, because all I've seen from the Skrull is that they're monsters who are attacking people, especially trying to attack, the main hero and her, fellow operatives. So to me, it just came off as a really random twist. And there was no...
I don't think it is that forgivable.
Yeah, and there wasn't like a really big...
I was just asking.
Yeah, there was no like real big like dramatic moment where like a single piece of dialogue came out that revealed it was the twist. It was just Talos talking for a while, and his attitude has totally changed. He's gone from leading this crazy group where they've actually imprisoned the main hero. Then he's like, it's played off as a joke, but he's slurping on a fucking milkshake, and then he's like chilling out in the house and being like, oh whoa, leave me alone. Oh no, that cat, it's so scary. Like they're going over the top to suddenly show him as being all innocent. It was just really annoying.
You read that as over the top. I just really enjoyed that. I let my guard down with these sort of films. I accept a certain amount of silliness, and so I just enjoy it. And I enjoyed that sort of silliness.
So this film was way more silly than 90% of Marvel films. The only
Maybe.
exception would be
Guardians of the Galaxy, I'd say.
Well,
no, not even Guardians. Even
Ragnarok,
Guardians.
obviously.
Thor Ragnarok
Yeah.
is the only
Do you
one
mean,
that
sorry,
would match.
what do
this
you mean
in-
by silly? You mean like plot holes, or do
they,
you mean...
No, they would go for a more serious approach to the film.
Okay.
Iron Man, serious.
To some
Thor.
extent, yeah.
Thor, serious.
well, okay.
Yeah,
I think
Ant-Man's a little jokey.
it's a
isn't it?
natural progression because they have in the past, like with Ant-Man, like you said, jokey. It is fun.
And I haven't seen it. I just assumed that from the trailers.
Fucking
Nice, clicking your fingers.
the one with the blades.
The one with the blades.
Deadpool.
Yeah.
Another obviously.
Oh,
silly one.
that's totally over the top. Yeah,
yeah.
that's his
But
entire thing.
there's a recent phase of this in Marvel, and so it's not too out of character to have a bit of amping of the silly. Because
even Deadpool had the story with the guy
really well.
losing his entire family. So even then they did like
I
have some
just
serious.
remember things being a bit more serious.
Yeah. That was also sort of a part of my issue with Captain Marvel being so badass, because it's like, she's in the serious situations, but she has time to crack little jokes and show off how badass she is. It
All
sort of
in
took
under
me-
22 hours.
Yeah, that stuff sort of took me out of the drama of it, where it's like, well, if you're supposedly screaming, but then the next minute you can totally handle all these people, like you took out 20 of Talos's best men, and then for some reason on the ship you're really struggling against Jon Rog, but then on Earth, when it's meant to be like, okay, it's stereotypical, but you are meant to have like a big final battle with your mentor, and they really lampshade that like he's like, I'm your mentor, you've finally gotten big enough, I can finally challenge you, and we'll see if you can beat me. And she totally blasts him, and that's played off as a total joke. But for me, that was a ruined opportunity, because it would have shown actual progression from the start.
If she had,
In
but actually, in reality,
defense, it was because that hurt me too. I was like, it would have been cool if she defeated her mentor, because I believe she was in the right headspace to finally do it. Right? I accept that she could have finally done it because she was under a bit of control.
And it
at
would have
that point
given
in
her
time.
her
However,
character a lot of
she
legitimacy.
didn't have to prove anything to him.
No.
Yeah.
She didn't have to. All she had to do was defeat him. So
I also
of course
didn't really
she would just
understand,
blast
like,
him. And that to me makes sense. But, from a cool perspective, it was a little lame.
I also didn't understand why she ended up showing him mercy, because she should have been like, she, took him back to his ship, propped him up and sent him off. It's like, you just realize this guy who's been like basically brainwashing you and training you, you just found out he's actually leading a totally pretty much genocidal campaign. He's been leading these other people who are even more aggressive. He's been tricking you. You've seen him. He's tried to actually hurt you and these people who you found out are the victims. And then you're suddenly like, oh, well, you did sort of train me. I do have
don't
some
know.
good
Is this your
experiences.
cockiness
To her,
criticism?
to her, he's family. his blood runs in her veins.
Yeah.
The transfusion.
Yeah.
And he's been her mentor, even if she now consciously accepts that he is a baddie.
But they didn't play that off as seriously. She was just like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, I don't
You
have
are-
anything to,
you
don't
are
have anything
right.
to prove to me. And she's like all smiling. She's pulling him
Yeah,
along.
she's
It's just,
like,
also,
I'll see you later.
I didn't like
she
the-
didn't indicate
It
that
was
she was
setting
giving
up-
him a
this-
mercy
setting up for
because of their
sequels.
relationship.
He was just setting up for sequels.
'Cause
and
they were, like-
she was confident in her ability to take on the entire, Kree
I guess that's
empire.
another issue where it's like, people accepting things too quickly. She's just found out her last 6 years, basically her entire life, in fact, has been a lie, but then she's still able to, oh, I'm still a badass. I can still make little quips, I can still sort of, smile at you sort of, cheekily like that.
Coyly.
Yeah. Also, one issue I had, when they sort of disabled her powers with that like patch on the back of her neck, and it's
Yeah.
like, your powers come from us, but then she's like reflecting on her entire life. She's seeing a montage of all those times where, yeah, she's human,
She
she's
fell
weak,
over, but she
can
got
get
back
back up.
up.
And all those little girls being her, just staring at the camera so defiantly. I was fucking cringing my fucking face off. And then she powers up, but suddenly she's no longer, even though her power supposedly came from them, she's no longer actually being held back from it. And she realizes that all in this one moment as she's being held down, and then she has even more power than before. It just felt too
that was an
empowerment.
inhibitor.
Yeah, but
I
how would
viewed
she
that
have
as an
known that
inhibitor.
and figured this all out in like what the case of like 5 minutes where she's just had it taken off and then she's suddenly powering up?
Yeah.
It was just really annoying for me.
I don't think it's too much of an issue. I didn't cringe very much on that. I found it pretty cool. The standing up that tied into her character. Fair enough. But I didn't really buy how, let's call it the Matrix, how in the Matrix she was able to harness her powers when
Yep.
This was when they were visiting the super intelligent AI that leads
and
the
she
Kree
fought
Nation.
the AI within the AI's realm.
like it doesn't
Right.
have complete control and
Which
can
is weird.
snuff her in an instant
Yeah.
while all the
boot her
tendrils
out,
are in
totally
her.
boot her out or remove her consciousness, delete it. But
Trap her in there.
yeah, but no, apparently her powers spread are mental faculties or logical axioms.
Yeah.
So that's
That was
odd.
just meant to be like a cool little thing for us viewers to, see, oh, this is how it's represented. But yeah, it was just another weird little moment.
Well, I don't know. I just really like the powers and the hero aspect of Captain Marvel. She's obviously like absurdly powerful. But I would have liked to have seen a bit more exploration of what her powers really are. There wasn't really established what she could do.
Yeah.
And what the limits of it were. Because, we'd think, okay, she's an energy harnessing, diverting
But we saw her like
creature.
diverting a missile, so she's super strong as
Super
well.
strong. Well,
But that didn't make sense because when she was hitting people, they weren't evaporating.
Yeah.
yeah. But she was in full Phoenix mode or whatever it's called when she was pushing that back. So it's not necessarily her body; it's this harnessing of the energy around her. You know how if a
Photons. Photons.
yeah, apparently
Yeah.
photons. How a telekinetic person might be able to fly by lifting themselves.
Yeah.
In that same way that she's able to manipulate power around her to emanate from her, but not necessarily. Because I imagine if you were to shoot her in the face, she would die if she hadn't, No, but if she hadn't,
that a
sort of
threat to Carol Danvers, Ashley?
I think she's vulnerable. But if she is able to preempt any of these attacks, she is able to capture that energy. I don't think it's a natural property of her body that she's strong. It has to be turned on, and so I would have liked to have seen her be attacked by energy weapons and do something with that.
The thing is, if you saw when Yon Rog was attacked by her plasma beam at the start, when
Yeah.
she was fighting and he's like, control your powers, but she can't and she hits him, it doesn't go through him. But we do know that those photons do destroy shit. Like, remember
Yeah.
the jukebox totally destroys it. So that's the photon
Rest
has
in
to be
peace, jukebox.
yeah,
Gone
the
too
photon
soon.
has to be far more destructive than a bullet. So even if she got shot with a normal gun in the face, she would have had to survived it.
We saw it
or else
destroy
there's an issue with
walls
the
and
scale.
doors and stuff.
Yeah.
The only explanation is that she was holding back. Obviously, she didn't want to kill her mentor.
Yeah.
But she was very frustrated and
Yeah.
lashed out with something.
Yeah, my point is, if she was shot in the face with a gun, I think she still would have survived because, I don't know, the blood or something. Marvel would have found some way to sort of bullshit it in.
I think she could survive. This is kind of getting off topic, but I think she could survive a point blank gunshot to the head if she
Yeah.
preempts it.
I don't think she'd need to preempt it. I think just we've seen how powerful she is even before she's gone totally, or at least we've seen how powerful her and her people are.
Without looking at the comments, I think it's really difficult to estimate her power. We saw her take down a ship, but so could Thor. And Iron Man at a stretch could probably do that too, but he relies on
He's
his technology.
vulnerable.
He'd use
Yeah.
some bombs and stuff
Yeah.
to do it.
Yeah, I think I'd love to see the matchups and theories and stuff that people, who would win versus
Death
this and
battle.
that. Yeah, that'd be really cool because she is, played up as this savior type character who will, in the end
she came back
be needed.
at the moment of Earth's need.
Yeah, and
as
she
we saw in the
rediscovered who she
stinger.
was, and
Yeah.
that's how finding herself helps her connect with Earth, and therefore there's more meaning
And
to
there was
saving
some
it.
questions about, what has she been doing, right, in the last 20 years, 24 years,
Finding
25
a
years.
home for the scroll.
That's right, and that is answered quite nicely. That she's fighting the Kree Empire and she's securing the scroll a home, which makes sense. It's a big task.
Yeah, I guess I just don't like how this is sort of Marvel Studios' attempt where it's like, well, you have this big superhero who has, they have to be important to some extent, or else you would have no reason to start marketing them. Where have they been in the rest of the stories you've been telling? And it's sort of a convoluted, it's sort of like what they do in like Dragon Ball Z, where it's like this other villain, why weren't they involved in all this other stuff? It's like, oh, well, they were sleeping, they were dormant. Like it is, I understand it does make sense in the world, but it is just convenient, and that stuff I guess sort of annoys me.
Yeah, like why hadn't Fury
why have
buzzed
they
earlier with other existential threats?
Exactly.
He had, literally the Avengers had been really low at some points,
yeah,
right?
apparently, yeah.
They'd been low and they needed some help, but they pulled through. They were the Avengers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The final battle scene where Captain Marvel is just like flying through the sky and there's all those explosions and lasers. I was totally zoning out of that because it's like there's too much. I can't focus on this stuff. The camera is constantly shaking.
It wasn't that cool even.
Yeah. It was just totally over the top.
The explosions were so weak.
Yep.
That wouldn't have hurt. They were just firing at like near close to California, I saw, with a few ballistic missiles at empty ground, trying to hit a few individual people. Or were they trying to destroy Earth? They were trying to destroy Earth, weren't they? Because the Skrull were on
they
Earth.
were just trying to
There's
eliminate
no
Earth.
way those bombs would have destroyed Earth. They were wimp.
They did just explode in
They
a
were
sort
little
of
weak bombs.
medium explosions.
Like, not even, like, on the... And then he was like, how did they defend from that? Earth shouldn't have the capacity to defend from these 5
Bombs.
weak bombs.
There were more than 5. There were about 20.
Yeah,
There were
okay,
lots.
Yeah, I was
But you're right.
exaggerating for humor.
They shouldn't just be they shouldn't just be even just thermonuclear. They should have some like what is it? Not to
quantum energy.
Yeah, whatever.
Quantum healing energy.
like literally Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, when they just sort of just surround the planet and go delete. Like these sort of empires should be able to just surround the planet.
the
delete
Kree
it.
are like impossibly technologically advanced.
Yeah.
So yeah, guys, we've been going for about 37 minutes. I guess we should move into the pure accusation phase.
Sure.
I guess I'll start. I'm still a bit confused because I could imagine that Andrew gave this film a 0.5 out of 10.
Whew.
I could imagine that, but at the same time, I've done this before. I've made this mistake, but I'm just going to say it. I feel like to some extent, Andrew would be like, okay, there were certain aspects of the film that I thought reached a minimum level of acceptance. And with Asher, I do know that he does like the Marvel films, but I feel like even he would have to realize the many issues with this.
This Marvel film wasn't as good as other Marvel films.
Yep, definitely agree.
He would rate this film realistically a 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
That's my accusation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I didn't. I rated this a 7 because I don't know. Maybe I have simple tastes.
And I'll defend myself on your accusation a little later.
Okay,
on
go on,
reflection,
Asher.
you guys have criticized the film pretty well, and so I might ratchet it down to
I
6.
but for the record to our listeners, after we have, talked about the film quite extensively,
Yeah.
a lot of us are tempted to change our reviews,
Yes.
But obviously we can't for the sanctity of the game. On last week's episode, I would bump my rating up.
What would you give Seven Samurai?
Seven Samurai, I'd probably 6.75, maybe a 7.
Okay,
I would
good.
bump it up after listening to you guys talking about
that's
it.
good. Yeah.
And I could see the more positive things.
Yeah.
I literally was opened by
exactly.
your reviews.
That's cool. And for Counselor, I was also opened by your guys' ratings. I think I dropped my Counselor rating from 4 out of 10 to like 3 out of 10.
Yeah.
Because
The Counselor was bad.
yeah, that was definitely bad.
but yeah, no, I like this film visually, except for the CGI. The cat CGI was appalling.
It was really bad.
And the the liquid / computer liquid CGI looked like a like it hadn't been finalized. Sort of, it's like if they released Terminator 2, but they hadn't actually like finalized the release of it, and the liquid metal guy was just like, oh, we'll just like pretend the liquid metal is there and we'll do it in post. It's like they released that. Some of the liquid metal stuff was just so bad, but the explosions were good.
Except for the ballistic missiles.
Yeah, that was a question of scale, but
You're right. Fair.
yeah,
fair.
but
enough,
the
fair enough.
and her powers were visually really cool, and they didn't cut corners blah, 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 on
If
that.
I have to ask, so you're a bit of a Marvel aficionado.
Well.
What other Marvel films would you say this is comparable to that you've enjoyed just as much?
Yikes.
It's hard because this is quite a different film. Thor is similar in its
Ragnarok or the original Thor?
original sort of Thor. Like even the Dark World. Dark World was a terrible sort of film.
The original Thor is straight trash.
I'm just talking about in one aspect that it's similar to the Thor series of films is that the powers are spectacular. You know, they look really cool. And that was what I liked about this one too.
Okay.
Iron Man is another sort of one that you might associate it with the sort of type of power that is there. But it's difficult to say because each Marvel film, as much as they are all very similar, like they're all surrounded, they all center around a specific hero often, and that changes the character of the film in often non-comparable ways.
Okay.
But there have been good Marvel films, better than this.
Okay.
Iron Man is like really solid. Not really the later ones.
Okay, I intend to come back to you, but Andrew said before that he wanted to defend himself.
Yeah, you said there's a mild possibility that I rated this film 0.5.
Yeah.
There's zero chance of that.
Okay.
I would never. The lowest I would go for a film rating is 1.
But you have said
that's for the
before
first
you would go
record.
0.1. You said before. I've
Only
listened to
in the
it.
most desperate of scenarios.
Yeah, that is fair.
There would have to be a diabolically bad film.
Yeah.
And this film was really bad, but it wasn't diabolical.
Okay.
There were points about it that I appreciated. One of the main points was the acting of Taylor. I liked his acting.
Okay.
The Skrull General, he was really
his
cool.
script was a little shitty. You know, he had some, you know, there were problems with the character. He was presented as totally. Oh god, mega fart.
Jesus.
All right.
Well, I'm
Regardless.
going to have to leave that in now. Context. Go on, Andrew.
He had some, you know, he was evil, ha 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 ha
Yeah.
ha, until he wasn't.
Yeah. And
that was
he's got a
weird.
family.
Yeah. But I liked his acting. He did a good job. I particularly liked his voice.
Yeah.
I will do an impersonation.
Go for it.
Well, what have we here? What have we
You've
here?
just totally misinterpreted his accent.
Well,
I thought that sounded
He was
fine.
not
have we
Cockney.
here? No, that's not. That's
not
not a Cockney.
He was like Australian, basically.
Are you kidding? He was supposed to be far more English than Australian.
I don't know what he was. But I
Yeah, so
enjoyed
stop
him.
judging Asher.
Whoa. What have we here? We got ourselves a captain.
He was sort of like...
Our little Captain Marvel.
Okay, now it's
Stop it.
my turn.
All right.
He was sort of a bit more gruffly. He's like, hello. What have we got here? He was a bit more, you know, as opposed to hello.
You're right.
Get some Australian in there, Lewis. Get some Australian in there. I can't
Shut
do
up,
it.
Asher. No, we're not doing this.
G'day. Hello. Oh, well.
Hey, guys, how
What
about-
have we here? What have we here?
How about
It's my family. I love my family.
we focus this entire podcast we're doing here, the Cinemafia.
Yeah.
We get rid of this whole film discussion
It was
analysis
bad anyway.
stuff.
Just
Yeah.
do accents.
And we should just impersonate the characters, our favorite
A
characters
whole,
from the
a whole
films. that
improv show where we
we-
pretend
we
to
do
be
a
and then we go like,
fiction.
no, dude, I don't think you actually like that character.
No, we do a fan fiction with us playing the roles of 3 different characters, and we continue the story past what the movie showed us. Anyways, I'd like to point
Okay.
out that oh, sorry,
I've got to
Okay.
continue
Yep, go
for
on.
my mild defenses to this film why I didn't rate it as 0.5.
I say you'd rate it higher. That was going to be my
Okay.
accusation of you.
Fair enough. All right.
Well, you can
so
challenge- you
I'll
can-
defend that after
Yeah.
you've had your point, but I'll just quickly say that the aspects of this film that I did like were the acting of that one guy. There were some funny moments. There were some parts where I did sort of laugh. I'm just sort of struggling to remember them now.
when
'cause
she
I saw
blasts the
was
door,
a little bit
and
of
he's
it.
like, "I'm just gonna unfold
No,
my."
not funny.
You didn't
no,
like that?
painfully,
Oh,
painful.
I like
painful.
that.
Man, I'm just struggling to remember the funny moments, but I swear I did laugh. You've got to believe me, guys.
Yeah.
There were some funny parts.
Oh, the henchman Skrull, where like he's like the scientist. and
Scientist,
He's looking
That-
all,
dude.
yeah,
that was
he's
funny.
your science
You're
guy.
right. That was a good
He,
gag.
he had those
was a
henchmen
good
Skrull
gag.
did have a few funny moments because of
Yeah.
their design. They looked sort of
Yeah.
stupid, so like they could be called out at moments for being dumb.
Yeah.
That was it was pretty basic, but I thought those moments were funny.
There was a little. This one was a little, but I kind of also liked it where the Skrull wash up on Earth and they're looking around to see who they can disguise as, and
Yeah.
two of them choose the same person, and he's like, "This one's already taken."
Yeah.
I would have chosen a different line, like one of us is going to have to change. That would have been
right.
way funnier. But I appreciate the sentiment, and I
Yeah.
could see like that added a bit of realism. That's an honest mistake. These guys aren't telepaths. They just looked around and I was like, I'll choose this person, and it was just a funny little coincidence.
Yeah.
And there were little parts like that I appreciated about the film, but all the bad things were very overwhelming.
Okay. Before Asher goes on to his point, as he's signaled he would like to do, I just want to make the comment that Asher has not been trying to figure out who the Mafia is.
Yeah.
He has just been defending himself this entire time, and that's usually a sign of that person being the Mafia.
He did accuse me, well, indirectly, by saying
Yes.
that he thought it's likely that my opinion would be higher.
It's just he has
Yeah.
had time to talk, and he hasn't cast out any direct
He was
aspersions.
listening to us.
No, I'm
Well,
saying he has
yeah.
he has had time to talk, but now
I have
now
had
you go
time,
ahead.
but
Okay.
and what I was going to say was again not an accusation. One thing I would, the trailers for this film ruined a few moments.
Really?
Okay.
Yep.
I haven't
The
seen
like the one where Danvers identifies the woman in the train as a Skrull. That is that's a little bit of detective work there, because in the film she bumps into that woman briefly and doesn't really notice her
That
as she gets off
totally,
the platform. And
yeah,
then
that stuff was cringy.
that was and then that would have made sense, or at least we would have been along for the surprise of her punching that woman if we hadn't
You are
absorbed
so
from the
right.
trailer that woman was a Skrull. That was unnecessary to include.
It
but
did
yeah.
totally ruin the surprise. It
Yeah.
would have been kind of funny.
'Cause you
to
were
see
aware of
her-
it, right? 'Cause
Yeah,
you'd
I
seen
was
the
totally
trailer.
aware. I was like, the moment I saw her bump into that woman,
Yeah,
I was like, oh, this is where she punches
It's
her.
such a waste of screen time. It's like,
Yeah.
why are we going through the motions now for this? But there is a lot to criticize of this film.
But yet, you can give it a 7.
I think, sorry, that was a 4.
Yep, 4 from me.
2.5. Fuck. Maybe Lewis hated it more than he's letting on. But that's such an issue because
Well, if that's the case, he's only been presenting things that he's disliked about the film.
yeah,
Uh,
my initial
why
thoughts.
haven't... Because everything that you've said is everything that I hate, but evidently it's affected me more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe you're just saying 4 because it's like easy to say it was a bad film when you say it's a 4. What brought it up?
No,
What's the
don't
difference?
answer that. I'm going to double accuse
He's-
now you. No, you do it. You do
Okay.
it later.
Yeah. So, God, you just distracted me there. So, Andrew's point is that maybe I hated this further.
Because Asher made me think, and I learnt my lesson
Yeah.
2 episodes,
episodes ago, yeah.
2 episodes ago, I learnt my lesson for being too sure. So tell us, why is this a 4?
I guess because I didn't find anything outright horrendous. When I'm starting to rate something like a 3 out of 10, that's when it's usually rather painful for me to actually indulge in. For this, it wasn't painful, it was just boring. That's sort of what the 4 and 5 sort of rating is. For me, it's sort of like, oh, this had, it wasn't terrible, but it didn't do much for me. So I was considering, doing this about a 3 out of 10 at moments, but then I was like, oh, there is some dumb fine action at moments, even though a lot of the moments were sort of really messy with the camera work.
Your critiques have been incredibly negative,
Yeah.
where you've saying that it was horrendous and that it was horrible and cringy, though.
I don't think I've said it was horrendous or horrible.
Well,
There have
you
been-
didn't directly say it was horrendous.
Yeah.
That's not the direct word that you use, but that's how one person might interpret what you've said so far. That
One
you
person
did think
named Andrew.
that you did think this film was really bad.
I guess I'll say I did like the general ideas they had. They just didn't execute them well. Like, I do like the idea of how we have a main character working for, like, some empire, and they think they're fighting, the good fight, and then it turns out, oh no, there's a bit of grey morality. Both sides have their issues. I just thought they executed that very poorly. I also like the idea of
So you're giving it points for what it tried to do.
yeah, like I take that into consideration. You know, like when I'm like The Counselor, which I rated a 3 out of 10 for reference, that was, you know, about the same length as this film, but that was really boring, and I only rated that for, you know, the main character, the Geordie Shore guy. I can't even remember his name. Win something, and just the general level of like fine like directing. And I did think that Captain Marvel had some fine moments. I thought Nick Fury was okay. As you said, I did like Talos. I thought he had some funny moments as well, especially when he's up in the ship and they're asking him,
Whoa. What if we...
no. When they're like, I thought that his accent was like tailor made for funny moments. And
Yes,
even though
it
I
was
didn't like
It was
how
a
he went,
humanizing accent.
even though I didn't
you.
like how he went from being a badass who's, you know, oh, he's this leader of this evil race of people, and then he's suddenly a joker, I could still appreciate the humor on its own, where he's like, why would I turn into a file cabinet and that sort of stuff? And it's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Lots
I've got to
of
look at
cash.
them. You know, I think it takes a bit of talent. I could appreciate those moments. So there was nothing about this film I absolutely hated, but I guess that's because I don't always take writing into consideration as the most like important factor of a film, because it's a total experience. So even though I thought it had rather bad writing, this wasn't enough for me to absolutely hate it. If I had to rate the writing itself, I'd give it like, you know, a 2 or a 3 out of 10. But there are other factors that go into making, you know, a visual medium such as a film, well, a visual piece of, you know, a medium such as a film, that kept it up from being totally terrible. And then you said you wanted to accuse Andrew of something.
Yeah, so because when the initial ratings were released and you gave your initial thoughts, you shat on the film, basically. Like, that's what Andrew read. You, in your initial talking about the film, you didn't offer anything that was positive.
I mean, I did, just to challenge that quickly, I did say, you know, they had some fine acting moments. I basically said what I said before. I said, you know, Nick Fury was fine. There was some good comedy.
You
There
didn't
was
say
some
about
fine
that.
moments. Yes, I did. I remember.
Okay, but then my thought was when Andrew was then speaking next, he said, oh, yeah, I really agree with, you know, everything that you've said, but I would go further. But I don't think I think that him going further is actually a lie. I think he just sort of vibes with what you're saying and would rate this a 5.5 for the sake of, you know, it has to be, 4.5 to ratchet you up at least 2, which is not worth seeing, under 5, and close to your opinion, because I don't think he's offered more genuine dislike of the film than what you've already done, and that you've, you know, both agreeing with one
Lewis
another.
preempted me.
Yeah, I did sort of, you can't really deal with that.
The main thing that I really hated was a lot of the cringy stuff, the one-liners. Lewis spoke extensively about the little one-liners. They were so annoying, and I spoke the biggest frustration is everything that Lewis said, but it was within 22 hours. That ruins this film. That destroys this film.
I guess the
That it
reason
went too quickly.
It's too strong.
the
It's
reason
too strong.
that I also
There you
talked
go.
most about the writing is because I feel that's the most I'm competent to talk about. Like, I don't know extensively enough about film techniques where I could be like, you know, oh, I thought this was a bad technique, you know, this close-up shot. You know, I can't go into those details or on soundtrack or on anything else. I can only focus on characters and the story itself, because that's like a universal thing, you know, because I deal with that in, you know, books and comics. So it's just easier for me to talk about those.
Sure,
I don't even
I think
consider
that
music.
when Andrew, you just when it went to me, you said it destroyed this film. You had some really genuine crocodile tears in your eyes there.
Genuine
His
crocodile
eyes
tears.
were watering. He was so passionate, and I know that you're an accomplished trickster, and I think that you're pushing too hard.
You reckon?
Yeah, I think you enjoyed this film a little bit more, and you were a 4.5. Yeah, but that's neither here nor there.
I
would-
don't see you rating this film a 7 because it was bad.
I rated this film a 7. I could
And
rate it a 6.5.
furthermore, I could see Lewis rating this film a 2
If I
after
give my
what you said.
I'll give my comment on this. I do find it odd that Andrew has been stressing this took place in 22 hours. Like, I can understand that being an issue, but just let me get on. Oh my god,
He's not
becoming-
happy.
Yeah, he's ready.
Sure, continue.
I can understand that being an issue, but the fact he's been repeating it so much does come across as odd. But knowing Andrew, I can't imagine this being one of those things where he just can't get past it.
most important detail in the whole film. That's the most important thing.
I mean, I think it's part of a wider issue of them not exploring things. Like, that's what I would have said. I would have said the issue is they don't explore. I wouldn't have measured it, like lessened it down to the issue of the time frame. I would have just said in general they haven't explored enough.
I'll
things.
say something.
If everything happened over a week, I would be like, cool.
What would you have rated
yeah.
that? What have you rated the film then in that case?
In
If
that
they-
case?
if they just extended the time frame,
5.
that sounds insane to me.
Yep. No, this 1 point literally changed the whole film for me. It made it so unrealistic. It made it so short-sighted. It made it so unhuman. A lot of the film was about, like, you know, she's truly a human at heart because humans always stand up. But she didn't behave like a human. She was an alien. Everything about her was strange. Her reactions, her little quips. Humans don't behave like that. The acting wasn't there while the writing wasn't there. Her acting was fine. It was whatever. That really triggered me.
Another issue with the 22 hours is the Kree civilization is, you know, apparently only 22 hours away, but they also haven't discovered faster than light travel, because that's what this whole thing was about, to discover faster than light travel. And we also have to assume that the Earth, you know, 1995, the scientists on the planet have been
C93, right?
C53,
Yeah.
have been looking around and haven't seen any evidence of alien civilizations within 22 hours, less, you know, slower than light travel away, which is a big issue, actually, which is physics.
Asher is constantly building up on issues we've said. He says, like, you know, I can't challenge
Well,
you
that's
guys.
right, because my rating is slipping every time you guys point out things that I didn't notice. But from my viewing experience,
Viable.
that I'm sitting there in the
Viable,
cinema,
actually.
I came out with a 7 out of 10. But now that you guys have enlightened me,
What would you rate this film now?
That's fine.
For
Well,
reference.
for the sake of the game, I think he has to continue saying
I
he's
won't
rating
say.
it 7.
I'm rating it 7.
Literally for the
Okay.
sake of the game, Lewis.
Okay.
maybe I'll rate it lower.
Okay.
Not because I'm the
For
mafia.
the sake of plausible deniability. you
Because
know.
it is believable that Asher was just really, really stupid and just didn't know what he actually
That
thought of
is
the film.
really believable.
That's a really viable
you know?
theory
That is
right
beyond viable. In fact, dare I say, it's likely.
Yeah.
You know, Occam's razor, Asher is
I'm
stupid.
That may
happy to
happen.
play along that I am not the mafia, because I am not the mafia, and that I'm dumb, because in this case it helps me. But I'm not the mafia. You guys have got legitimate criticisms. One of you, I think, is holding back, and you're somehow holding back also, Lewis, on how... Fuck, I don't actually know. I need to accuse one of you.
I mean, you've mostly been accusing me, haven't you?
Yeah, but I think Lewis might have
He
been
was heavy on me
harsher
before.
on this film, just sort of ratcheting up the cringe, ratcheting up the lack of enjoyment and boredom to a 2. But a 2 is very low.
Yeah.
And a 1, you criticized Andrew's 1 of Phantom of the Paradise, and a 1 or a 2 should be a poorly made film. You should see errors all over the place.
Yeah.
It should be an uncomfortable experience. So maybe that's what...
I wanted to leave halfway through Phantom of the Paradise.
Right.
I wanted to stop watching that film.
And I don't think this was that unpleasant to watch. So, fuck. Okay, I'm casting my aspersions on you, Andrew. I think this was a 4.5 at least for you. In reality,
It was too bad.
I feel bad because I have to consider the wider, like, I have to consider outside this exact game for who I think is the mafia, and I do think Andrew probably could have thought this film really was that bad. I can't imagine that, and that's sadly based on what I do know about him. Also, his arguments. I guess it was an issue for me because not being mafia, I spoke the longest about all the writing issues, and I do feel safe, assuming that Andrew would have made the similar points. So I sort of shot myself in the foot here, where if I allowed him more time to speak instead of myself pointing out the writing issues, I would have felt more safe being like, yes, Andrew is in line with
could
me.
have revealed me.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
Sort of thing.
Because now you sort of have the plausible deniability of, Lewis already said everything.
Right.
But I am still pointing toward feeling
There's
it's
no
Asher.
way it was a 7.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
No way. He rated it 5.
Yeah, I think he would have rated this 5.
yeah. But see, when Andrew's talking to me, he's like, "Oh yeah, I can see that." But now that you're talking, obviously I have to be there.
That's the most likely thing.
But I'm not.
I'm
prepared, really not.
I was prepared to entertain because I'd been burned 2 episodes ago, and it hurt my heart. And I really considered Lewis. I really thought, and I still don't agree that it's.
This is hard because you're right. My opinion of this film has now declined.
Yeah.
And so you'd be accurate in saying that I don't hold a 7 out of 10. But what I'm rating it as 7 out of 10 is leaving the cinema having had the pure experience without the criticism and analysis. And the pure experience for me was a 7. If I rewatched this film again, it would be less, which is not always the case. You know, sometimes I'd rewatch a film and it improves, but in this case, it would decline. But it was still rating it on the viewing experience. I had a good time. Lewis would have noticed I kind of let out far too many chuckles. I was a bit loose in the theater.
I guess,
I
but
felt a
I
little
did
bit
let out
loose.
chuckles, but my chuckles were more at the film being bad, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lewis kept on leaning over for fist bumps and
Yeah.
you know stuff like that all the
He
time.
did that to me. I
Yeah.
fucking hate that.
Oh,
There was a point
damn.
when he was like gesturing at his drink, like
Yeah.
and gesturing at my drink. I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm
let's
thinking like,
shares our
no,
drinks
dude,
as the
you
drinks
can't have
together.
any of my drink.
There-
I don't want any of your drink. I
there was
don't care if you're out of drink. And then I eventually.
There was a
cheersed.
part where he was talking. He was just like, but to me. and I was just like, yeah. And, you know, moving away a little
Oh,
bit. I
dude.
was like, yeah, man, just let me watch the fucking film.
Yeah, there were a
Literally.
few moments where I tried to make jokes and he didn't respond. I was like, oh, damn.
Dude, and for that post-credit scene when I pointed out there's one person right in
But,
front of us,
dude.
and there was actually another person in the theater. You're like saying shit. I'm like, shh, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
does
I
if
better
it
vote for
matters?
the
And I
one
was
person.
cringing pretty hard because these boys who sat, after the film, the guy in front of us and the guy behind us, way behind us, they were fucking fans. They knew what they were doing, and you fucking trashed
But
their
it's like,
post-credit
but
scene
nothing was
experience
happening.
for them.
There was no audio. It's just
That's
the cat
right.
on the
And
desk.
if you
Yeah.
see a silent film, do you want people talking? Or
Different times, different culture.
If there's a scene
I'd
in
like
a
to
film,
point out, Andrew
which
has
is
been totally
atmospheric.
distracting by bringing up events outside of this game.
This is an aside.
Jeez.
He
I'll
does
agree,
this quite
I'll
frequently.
agree with that. It is an aside. It's a funny point for the
There's
sake of
an
the podcast.
atmospheric
This is just banter.
This
Yeah,
isn't
but
bad.
Asher
I'm
is
fucking
also agree with
fuming.
Asher is always most likely to bring out asides, humorous asides,
It's because
when
I'm
he's
well
under pressure.
socialized.
It's-
And, able
Yeah.
to
We
talk
agreed.
about
He
the
was
issues.
voted our friends group most socialized person
most
2019.
Oh,
as
I
of
said too
30 minutes ago.
too socialized.
Oh.
Too socialized.
Right.
Okay, well, I feel
You mean radicalized?
yeah.
I'm not
I feel ready to cast my vote.
On Andrew.
I'd be prepared to vote too.
Lewis,
And it
don't
has-
be confident that Andrew's going to vote for me. He's not necessarily going to vote for me. Now, you could also vote for Andrew,
Fucking hell.
or Andrew, we could both vote for Lewis. I don't really mind.
I don't think there's any.
Yeah.
it's not
okay.
me.
All right.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm just
Okay,
gonna vote.
we're gonna write down. our
Oh
votes.
no, I'm not the mafia, guys. I'm really not. I'm really not the mafia.
If Lewis is mafia, I'm gonna be mega triggered.
No.
I'm
You
not
should
the
vote for
fucking-
Lewis.
No,
and
I'm
you
not.
vote for
I
Andrew.
like my heart is telling me no.
Yeah,
I'm not the mafia.
I'm
No, I'm
literally
not
the
writing mine
mafia.
until I've convinced one of you to change yours. Because I'm not the mafia.
He's gonna hold the game hostage, just like a mafia would.
You can't hold the game hostage. We're prepared to vote.
I'm also gonna be at
How,
peace.
how
where-
long has the podcast been going for?
Just over an hour.
all
Right, so we've
it's
got a few minutes.
a few minutes.
I'd just
Sure,
like to
all right,
say,
let's talk.
if Andrew is the mafia, I'm not going to feel terrible because he's either going to think the film was absolutely awful, and I think we would still agree on the general
The
issues
aim
of
of
writing.
the game is to vote off the
I know,
mafia.
I'm just saying, I wouldn't have that awful feeling in my belly after other episodes. And if it turns out he voted at 4.5, I at least have that silver lining again, where it's like, well, at least he thought it was about as bad as I thought. But I am still rather confident that Andrew thought this film was very, very, very bad.
2.5 out of 10.
It's Lewis.
He always does this.
All right.
It's all.
Oh, fuck it.
Like
All right.
I could swing. What's your final accusation?
Go ahead.
Maybe Lewis enjoyed this film more than we're thinking. Maybe
Oh,
he
fuck
voted it a
off.
6.
6. Nah.
Why not?
No.
No plausibility there.
No plausibility.
Zero
Okay, how about
plausibility.
this? How about he voted it a 2? See, it doesn't
I mean,
make
we've
sense,
already-
does
two-
it, Lewis?
two is
now,
plausible.
vote for Andrew.
No.
He's the mafia.
No,
Great one,
Ash is just
Asher.
too desperate. He's not even trying to figure out who the
Wait,
mafia is now.
Andrew,
He's just
vote
trying
for
to.
Lewis.
He's just trying to cast aspersions either way because he's desperate.
Why don't you fucking vote for the other and I'll vote with you?
Are you kidding?
See,
Not how
he
it
doesn't.
works.
He's made
We're
it.
both voting for you.
He's made it clear he does not care about getting who the mafia is. He just
Vote.
doesn't want to be
Write
voted
down
off.
your vote, you joker.
Write down your
Fuck.
name. God.
It doesn't matter. It actually does. I want to be right.
It does matter.
If I was the mafia, would I be looking back and forth, caring about the game and trying to vote right? Or would I just write a name down and surrender?
Just surrender.
Lose, you loser.
Write down your own name.
Now that's meta.
Yeah.
All right,
All right.
guys.
Shall we
Okay.
reveal?
I've
Okay.
written it down.
All right.
3, 2, 1. I have voted for Asher.
I have voted for Asher.
I voted for Andrew, the Mafia.
Shall we reveal?
Oh
Yeah,
gosh,
we
was it
should.
Andrew.
Motherfucker. Look at my blue eyes white
my
dragon.
gosh,
and look at
Andrew.
Andrew with his fucking trap
Look
card.
at my trap hole. I was
Again.
God damn.
Mafia.
I'm very bad
What's
at
your
this
rating,
game.
Andrew?
5 out of 10.
Oh,
Wow.
I fucking knew it.
That is surprising.
5 out of 10.
Wow.
Sorry,
Go
listeners,
ahead.
I kind of yelled.
The things that I hated were relatively true. However, they were overlookable. The cat was horrible. I hated the cat. That was so stupid. It wasn't funny. But the lines, they were stupid, but it was her character. The action was acceptable. I kind of liked the setting. I didn't like the nostalgia bait. And I hated how they tried to force that too much, but it was like overlookable. Essentially, everything to me about this film was overlookable, which is
Okay.
why I would rate it 5. It was so average. Maybe like 4.5 for the painfully average side of things. But when I was watching it, I wasn't. Ash has just got his middle finger extended, and he's had it extended this whole time.
To Lewis.
I
to
mean,
Lewis.
dude, you've been so terrible at this game. Why would I have any reason to trust
It's
you?
really difficult because when you like pulled that out, I'm like, yeah, I was right. I'm smart. But then I'm like, I lost.
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck.
Yeah, 5 out of 10. It's pretty much like most other Marvel films. Thor, the original Thor, was much worse. Thor Ragnarok was a little bit funnier than this and less cheesy, even though it was really cheesy. And I liked it more than The Counselor.
Okay.
It was way better than The Counselor.
Yeah, I agree with
The
that.
Counselor was a super bad film.
I did think of that. I was like, do you really think this is? But I was like, he seems so convincing. There's no
Yeah.
reason for me to bring that up.
The 22-hour thing is a huge oversight.
Wow, really? So that is
Really?
okay.
Really significant oversight. And it's so minor, it's so inconsequential and insignificant to probably like a standard viewer,
Yeah.
someone who wasn't like, borderline autistic or whatever.
Yeah.
But it really bothered me.
Okay.
But other than that, it was just a thoroughly average film. I would probably recommend it. The feminism aspect that was criticized, whatever.
They had a
It
few
wasn't-
tiny moments that were cringy, but it doesn't take up the entire thing. It was like, boys aren't meant to do this. Hey,
Yeah.
lady, smile for me. It was nothing terrible, but it was annoying. It's like, you don't need to include that,
But like, what it did include were like legitimate female grievances that that you could make a feminist film about. It weren't necessarily things that I'd think like,
yeah,
it's not
but
actually
they felt sort of out of
problematic.
place, especially in this film where it's set in like an alien world. It's like these issues are so subpar.
But
they didn't really
it's
explore.
supposed to be a heavily feminist hero.
Yes,
that's
but
just
they
what
only,
the hero is.
but it was all background for the character. Like when she's interacting with Nick Fury and all the other actual humans where these issues would exist, it's not like she was running into issues there where they're disrespecting her for being female. So it was really just coating for her character. So it just felt unnecessary.
Right,
you
so
know,
you mean
'cause-
it was all in her background.
Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, this is there. Like there are a few moments where she interacts with that biker, and it's like, oh, there's a little thing there. That's annoying. Or when Skrull, and we're supposed to believe. We're sort of going back into the criticism, but Skrull, he's supposed to know that calling someone a young lady, like in the human English language, is meant to be sort of demeaning. Like they just, Anyways,
that's
we're getting
fair enough.
back into the criticism.
As we have sort of discussed before about the changing of opinions, like I rated this 5 after watching the film, but now I would rate it 3.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fucking hell.
This
it is actually
discussion,
true.
this discussion has made me realize this film was really bad.
Andrew, that's basic psychology because if you get people to rate their
Yeah.
views and then you say, okay, but now you have to argue this side,
Yeah.
their views change.
Yeah.
So that's understandable.
So
Yeah,
would
it
you
is.
say that
Yeah.
my opinions?
Between 3 or 4, I don't know. I'm so flaky.
Would you say my
wishy-washy.
opinions, like me pointing out the issues of writing, brought that down for you then? Because you're saying it fleshed it out.
Yep, the writing.
So would you have made those points if I had not? Or did you not really think about some of those things? You were just sort of enjoying the ride.
I was mostly enjoying the ride
Okay.
this time. I wasn't actively thinking about it
Okay.
too much this time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, damn. I guess that brings an end to
Yeah.
this 8th episode of Cinemafia.
Bit of a strange game. Feels,
It's
feels
funny because
different.
you
yeah.
sort of ended up basically thinking your actual opinion of the film. You said 3 out of 10, very
And
close to the
that's
2.5.
why I kind of feel really strange about
Yeah.
this whole thing.
Yeah.
It's been better in the past where we've had truly divisive
Yeah.
films. I am surprised that you would rate this
Yeah.
a 7. Genuinely.
Okay, so that
really
could have been a bit
surprised.
reckless.
I think 7
yeah.
was totally too high.
Perhaps a 6, but nonetheless, I think this is an enjoyable film that most people will enjoy, and it delivered on what it was going to do, and so the Marvel shouldn't be disappointed by what they've done. The only things that were really questionable for me was the quality of the graphics of the computer generation.
I honestly didn't have much of an issue with the graphics. You guys pointed that out, the CGI. I was just like, this is a super.
It was just really hit and miss.
To me, it was like, these are modern superhero films. This is just what they do. I didn't
Ronan's
appreciate
face, the cat, the
Yeah.
AI shit.
Yeah, to me, there was never a moment where I was like, wow, this looks bad. I was just like, this is what things are. I was more annoyed with how they were used to tell the story, because I was like, I don't care about the setting. So that's why I wasn't thinking of like the CGI.
Lewis is an intellectual.
Yeah, I'm
He's
an
not
intellectual.
about all of that superficial
Me,
stuff.
an intellectual.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I can just look past that stuff at some points, I guess.
Wow.
Like like the big fight at the end. I wasn't like, wow, the CGI looks bad. I was just thinking, like the idea of all this crazy stuff happening as she's flying through, destroying
The
everything.
big
that
fight
just
at the
didn't
end, the
appeal to me.
CGI was fine, but there were just
Okay.
a few other things.
Well, you guys
Yeah,
point
they
out
they blew their budget on that one
Yeah,
for the
yeah,
CGI.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's pretty weird, like, that you should have not fucked up the cat. Like, there have been films in the past that were made in the 90s that did talking cats really well, way better than that.
Yeah, cats and dogs.
Cats and dogs. And these were films that used real cats. So why
Cats
couldn't,
and Dogs, masterpiece. It's a 10 out of 10.
like, they could have used an augmented cat, but they didn't. They used a totally CGI cat, and it wasn't good at all. And because that cat was like, what, 30% of the jokes
Goose was
of
the key
film,
to all this.
which is a Top Gun reference, of course. But
Yeah.
if this cat is supposed to be a focus of a lot of the humor and relief of the film, they should have damn well animated him way better.
I was expecting a Tom Cruise cameo this film.
Right, yeah, that would have been
Seriously,
fucking
I was
sick.
expecting
Jeez.
just like a quick cameo with him in the background.
Just like hanging out.
Yeah, or like taking off or something, wearing his cap. That would have been cool.
Or just like in the world,
casually in
just like
background.
running away from shit. Like,
yeah.
fuck, I don't know what to
I'm
do.
in the danger zone
I didn't
right
get
now.
I didn't
That's
get to
his
mention
line.
this. The cameo of Stan Lee. I thought that was
Yeah.
horrific. Where it's like she's going through the train, then it's Stan Lee, and the music goes
And
all
she,
like
winks.
oh,
and
and
smiles
it's
at
like
him.
She's like-
it's just like that's a bit too much of a fourth wall
The
break.
Stan Lee cameo in Ant-Man and the Wasp was fucking funny. So Stan Lee's like walking back to his
Keep this
car.
quick. We got to wrap this up.
He's walking back to his car, and then in the fight, Wasp accidentally misses the target and shrinks his car, and it just bloop, right in front of him when he unlocks it, and he's like looks at it for a second and is like, "Whoa, the '60s were fun, but maybe I overdid it," which is kind of funny. Like
Yeah,
he did
yeah.
way too many drugs, psychedelics in the '60s. Funny line.
I did get
what
that.
happened.
Thanks
in
for explaining
the
that.
Captain Marvel one.
That is
Not
a
that funny.
humor. You see, that is a subversion of expectations. You see, the humor from that joke comes from.
Oh look, I
that-
spilt my drink. I
Nothing
didn't actually.
different there.
I just wanted you to stop.
Yeah. Anyways, guys, let's bring it to a close. This has been the 8th episode of Cinemafia. We have been looking at Captain Marvel. Thanks for joining us. Goodbye from me.
Thanks for joining us. Well, my loves. Thanks for joining.
Thank you all for listening.
We'll see you guys next time when we review Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. We'll see you then.
Bye.